Now here's one of the most relatable stories you've ever heard as a producer. You know when you've produced the main idea of your project, maybe it's a drop or a chorus or just a full 16 bar loop. And as you get more into finishing the project, it just seems like progress gets slower and slower. It feels like all you do for a few days is just open the project, maybe you adjust some things here and there, but overall the track never evolves, which leads to you not finishing it. This is precisely what 99% of producers and artists go through. But just imagine a reality where you finish double the amount of music that you do right now. This is one thing that not enough producers know about. It's something that's literally been in front of you this entire time. It just exists everywhere in the world. After I learned this, the game was changed. It's called the Pareto Principle, or the 80-20 rule. You might have heard of it before, but just let me explain so you can finish more music. It essentially means that roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. And you might be like, well, how does this apply to me? How does this apply to my music? Well, trust me, I'll show you. And hopefully I'm gonna blow your mind. So let's just make something real quick, but I'm not gonna focus too much on production for this video. Yeah, I like this one better. This is 20% of our efforts right now, making 80% of the track. The bass. Let's make some chords. Interesting. Start adding more notes. Yeah. Add a few more layers. Ooh. Beautiful. I'm just going to arrange this a little bit, add a little bit more details, not too many, and then we can be done. %, of our track comes from 20% of our efforts, which is exactly what I just did there. But the extra 20% of our track, all the fine details and all that stuff, come from 80% of our efforts. And this makes so much sense. This is exactly why all these producers end up quitting before they actually completely finish the track. The most fun part about making a track is that initial burst of creativity, and the other 20%, all of the details, is a lot less fun. And that's when all of these problems come in. Time and progress seems to get slower and slower, and you begin to feel resistant because it's getting boring and you have a lack of direction of where to go with the track. You're just in this kind of plateau state where it feels like nothing really gets done. Now think about if you were able to get through this almost every single time. How far would it take your skills? And here are some ways we can do that. Number one is set a clear direction for where you want to take the track. This is powerful because it literally sets a direction for where you want to go, and it helps you stay on track. That one's simple enough. And another one is to stop aiming for perfection. Now, a few years ago, I think it was in 2020, I got in contact with one of the biggest EDM artists in the world, and I'm not going to name him. He was part of a group actually. I remember sending some demos for his label, and he was straight up honest with me, which is exactly what I needed. He told me that the tracks I sent just weren't there yet and that my skills weren't there yet. And after hearing that, I felt kind of disheartened because I did not want to let go of the tracks. But he also told me that I shouldn't worry about it because within a few years my skills would be higher and I'd be making better tracks anyway. So stop aiming for perfection and just learn to let go. They don't have to be perfect for you to finish them. I guarantee within a year from now, your skills will be way higher and you're going to make better tracks anyway. You probably won't even think about the track that you're focusing on right now. And if for some reason you still are, just remake it with the new skills that you have a year later. The third thing is to not be complacent and to break any resistance that you feel. Be mindful of why you're listening to your track over and over again. Is it actually helping it? Sometimes you're gonna have to force yourself to finish the last 20% of the track, and that's okay. Sometimes your mind or your limbic system takes over, and you're going to find every excuse to not finish the track, to not make music, all of that stuff. Do it anyway. And the final thing is to quit while you're ahead. I know this might seem contradictory to all the other stuff I just said, especially about breaking resistance, but sometimes it is better to just quit on the track. If it's gonna go nowhere, if you really think that it's not going anywhere within the next hour, might as well just quit, and then you can use that time for another track. Now think about it. If you take this advice and implement it right now into one of your projects, what would happen? Okay, so it's about a day later after I made the original idea of this project, but whenever I was refining the details, doing the structure and stuff, the last 20%, I didn't record because I'm an idiot, but that's okay. I'll just walk you through it. Most of the time, whenever you make the main idea, that can take like 10 minutes to, I don't know, an hour and a half, usually. After you do that, just take a break for like a day or even a few hours because you want to have a fresh perspective whenever you come back to finish the last parts of the track. I'll just play part of the track real quick. Pretty good. All I did was take that 80% of the track, that main idea, and of course build off of it to create the rest of the track. And during this process, I just followed the guidelines that we spoke about. A lot of the time when you're producing the rest of the track, you're kind of adjusting things aimlessly and just doing random stuff, hoping that it's going to go somewhere. So setting a mental direction, obviously sometimes you want to produce with no specific aim in mind. But when we're talking about finishing the rest of your track and you don't have any direction on where you want to take it or how you want to finish it, it's almost like wanting to start a fire with a magnifying glass. You already have the firewood laid out, you got to take your magnifying glass, but instead of focusing the energy of the sun, all you do is just wave it around like this. And of course, I could probably do more stuff here. I could probably fix the mix up a little bit, do things to add more character and uniqueness to the track, but I'm at a point where I'm happy with it. Obviously, you don't want to get complacent. You want to keep improving your music and stuff like that, but you get what I'm saying, right? Basically, just don't keep trying to make the most perfect track ever. Within the next year, your skills will go up and you'll probably make something better anyway. If we can get better every single day, setting direction for our tracks and all of that stuff, then we can be ahead of the game. Now that you've learned all this, imagine going down the same path that you were before, where you aren't aware of this stuff and you still plateau every single time you produce. I'm not perfect with this, but I've been trying to take action on this as much as possible, and it's been working, and I want it to be the same for you. But anyway, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want to, check the link in the description. It's a school community. I'll be updating it very soon. It's going to be amazing. Make music now and you'll thank yourself later. Peace.